Hi, everybody, and welcome to Astrology Unplugged. This is Rick DiClemente, and we're going to be talking with another guest tonight. We're talking about what seems to be someone being stuck and how to get unstuck. And what you find out when you get into that verb is it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So I actually ran out of folks, and I put out an announcement about it. And I got inundated. I had to turn people away. So we now have enough stuck people to last us till mid-February. And 1 week off in December for me talking about codependency. And then 3 weeks off during December because of the holidays. So there's a lot of stuckness going around. And it's beside if it's stuck or not stuck, it's still a very good education for you astrologically to see how things get jammed up jelly tight, like that old song used to say. Jam up jelly tight. Tonight is a guest, Jennifer, who's been with me about 7 years, maybe longer. She's been watching the show for maybe 10 years and very fond of her. She's just a wonderful gal, and she's a Scorpio. And let's get started with you, Jen. I know you're in the Northeast. Describe to me in your words, I'm going to put the chart on the screen. Describe to me in your words what this feeling stuck feels like.
Okay, so just a small little bit of background is in this year particularly, I lost my job, and my ex-fiance, who we've been broken up for a while, he finally moved out of the house. So basically, since I lost my job in April, and then he moved out in August, like mid-August, I would say. So it's kind of like, okay, well, which way do I go now? How do I get my life on track? And was it even really on track beforehand anyway? Because I feel like if I lost all of these things, then they really weren't for me to begin with, because if they were, then I would still have those things with me in my life. So there were certain aspects of the job and the relationship that caused those things to sort of spiral their way out of my life. And they happened because what was true for me was not true for them, meaning my boss and my former fiance. So yeah, where does
one of the number one things I listen for is how's it going at your job? It's real important. Why? Because they don't have to be nice to you.
Right.
Number two, when things are going, Michelle Sailing is here. When things are sailing at your job, no problem. When things start going bad at your job, it's a really significant symbol that you won out and you're not getting out. And that's what's troublesome about jobs. If you're staying to put money on the table, to put food on the table, to get health insurance, it's one of the worst things you can do, in my experience, because your inner self doesn't care about that stuff. Your inner self wants to fly. It wants to be yourself. It wants to be happy. It wants to go out in the woods. It wants to go sailing. It wants to live. And what's the part of us that doesn't want to do that is the part of us that doesn't trust.
Right.
So all these episodes come back to, do you trust or not trust? We know you're a very strong Scorpio. So I'm going to advise you to keep everything up in the air for right now, because we're going to be tossing a lot of things on the back burner, put it on the front burner. Okay. You know me. It's all wing ding and just see how it comes out.
All right.
But these are probably good signs. Some of the very best, some of the most major wonderful things happen to people when they break up with somebody that they just can't break up with.
Right.
That's one of the best things possible. Not in maybe not your case, I don't know yet. But breaking old habits is just fabulous in astrological terms because you come alive again and your juices start flowing. So let's just leave it right there. Let me just ask you a couple quick things. In general, the types of jobs that you've been doing, just in general. Were you artistic?
So I am. I own my own business actually, and I've had my own business for I'm going to say the better part of 9 years. And
What kind of art?
I actually am a jewelry designer,
Okay.
and yeah, and I also
I
help
didn't say autistic, I said artistic. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Now, mom is what sign?
I'm sorry.
Your mother's what sign?
Oh, my mom's a Capricorn. Both of my parents are
All
actually.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Now, let's get into your chart. Hello, Michelle. Michelle looks so relaxed. She sends me little messages every day to tell me to chill out. So I'm going to chill out just because Michelle said so. Okay. Now, I'm going to warn you about this chart. The way it's drawn is very confusing. And it's because there's so many planets that are in Scorpio, which is below the 5-degree Scorpio ascendant, but yet you have 5 planets jammed into the 12th house. So they're trying to show you with this diagram that all these planets are in the 12th. Okay? The 12th house is expanded. 2 of them are up in Libra, 3 of them are down in Scorpio. That's all that means. This is a really pretty remarkable chart. And I think you'll find what I've always known, that Jennifer is a pretty remarkable woman. She really is. Now let's get to why, okay? Let me just tell you folks some truth here. You know me, I like to go off base and just tell you the truth. Scorpios are usually awful or wonderful. And if you got an awful one, you know what I mean. And they can be downright awful, and they can be downright wonderful. I always look at Julia Roberts and I look at Sally Fields as example of people that are just that wonderful Scorpio shine, that loving heart. And it all comes down to one thing. Do they hate themselves? Because they have very strong feelings, fixed water. And if they hate themselves, get the hell out. Just get out. If they hate themselves, get out. Don't ask questions. Don't sign nothing. Get out. Because they're going to hate you. And they're going to hate everybody. And if they don't hate themselves, the number one thing Scorpios need to learn is self-compassion. And if they learn self-love, they can just be wonderful. They can just be magnificently strong and wonderful. And I don't find a lot of people in the middle. Okay, let's proceed. Now, you see the sun is at 5-degree Scorpio. The ascendant is at 5-degree Scorpio. Venus has just risen. And in the rising, the Venus has just come up above the horizon. This is the horizon here, all the way across. And the sun is right behind it. So for just a couple minutes that morning, you would see Venus, and then it would be outshone by the sun. And actually Mars, then Venus, then the sun. Now, when you got Mars and Venus together and in Scorpio, this is the pizzazz of pizzazz. Okay? These people have tremendous charisma. And if they don't watch it, like with some other signs, Venus and Mars can really indicate narcissism. But I don't think that's the case here. But you've got Mars, Venus, and the sun all within 5 degrees, all sitting on the ascendant. So that means you draw the sun real big and Venus real big and Mars real big. Okay, it's a sensual placement, Mars and Venus. And with Venus only 2 degrees from the ascendant, you see where her love of jewelry comes from. Now, One of the main things that leads people towards jewelry is Libra planets. And you see them here with Mercury, Uranus, 1 degree apart. And with the Uranus involved and with Libra involved, it tells you without a doubt that she does off the wall jewelry. She doesn't do standby jewelry. She doesn't do stuff that's been there, done that. It's inventive. People go, wow, where'd you think of that from? That's where it comes from. It comes from Uranus. Right? Wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I knew it was right. So I'm looking at the symbol. Okay. Now, the difficulty in this chart, and we're going to really put a lot of emphasis on it. The difficulty in this chart, and perhaps what's got her perplexed to begin with, is the Saturn in Cancer. He's up here all by his lonesome.
Mhm.
And Saturn in Cancer, I've learned some good things too, but Saturn in Cancer is about being very careful emotionally. Don't get hurt. Well, what do you think the Sun, Venus, Mars, and Scorpio says to that? The Scorpio part just says, bring it on, honey. Bring it on, honey. It's just ready to get into the fires in the kitchen. But the Saturn in Cancer, no. I've been hurt too many times. We're going to be cautious. Both things are there. We're going to solve this by going into the past life chart. I've already done work into the past life chart and also in the destiny chart, which was proven pretty true to me. All right, now we'll go back to that. All right. So Saturn is in Cancer. It's in the 9th house. And there's this big T square. 18, 21, 16, 12, 27. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets involved in one T square, all going to Saturn and Cancer in the 9th house. And when the 9th house is affected, the 9th house is your philosophy. So we don't know where she got her philosophy, whether she got it in this lifetime, whether it's a hangover from a past lifetime, but it's a philosophy of being careful. Well, when Scorpios love, they don't love carefully. Passionately. Because Scorpio is a sign of passion. Well, how are you going to be passionate and careful at the same time? I don't know. That's the issue. So we're not going to judge. We're going to investigate. So how we sound so far? Am I thoroughly embarrassing you yet?
Oh, geez. Yeah, it's really true. Because
It's okay.
Yeah, I know.
It's okay, honey. We all got these things. Did you want to comment yet? Go ahead.
Oh, do I want to comment? No, it's all really true. Yeah, I'm a little bit blushing too because it's very true. It's like I truly do want to be careful because I wind up like disappointed because I am like passionate for life, like one of those hopeless romantic type of people.
Yeah, that's right.
Like I never want to give up on love, but I just find that it's like people just wind up giving up. They're like, you move in together, and the next thing you know, they just are like,
the number one problem with Scorpios is they get over dedicated. The secret to the sign of Scorpio is found in the word betrayal. They can't stand the thought of them betraying themselves. They can't stand the thought of them betraying somebody else. And buddy, you better not betray them. Because they're fixed water. Fixed water means the feelings are out there and they're intense and they're going to stay intense and that's it. So when the relationship starts to sour, the Scorpio starts to think, well, maybe I'm not putting enough into it. Sometimes they add more to it. Then they can also end up over dedicated, especially with leaders and God and with spiritual paths. I'm here to tell you right now, this whole show came out of the blue. I had somebody else scheduled tonight, 2 people, and they both dropped out, and you appeared. There's no happenstance there. You are to be read for tonight because you are about to go through a major turning point. That's why this is happening. Ha, Claudia. That's right, she said. Okay. Now, we're going to go back and take another look at the birth chart. All right. So we see Pluto is widely, thank God, widely opposite the moon by 9 degrees. And that's good because you don't want it too close. Pluto and moon is very hard to figure out. And you see all these planets are sending all their energy up to the 19th degree of Cancer. So this is a philosophy. How can you have a careful philosophy? Well, I don't know how, but I'll guarantee you she's got one. That means that I got my philosophy, how you do, how you give, how you take, how you love, how you don't love. But in the end, she's going to take care of herself. That's what Cancer does. It's not a Scorpio quality. That's a Cancer quality. Taking care of myself. Now, I have found, and I just hate to tell you other astrologers out there watching this on YouTube, get into the 12th harmonic. Get into it. You're not going to figure the chart out with the birth chart. You're not going to figure it out with progressions. You're not going to figure it out with the North Node. Get into the 12th harmonic, then it'll start making sense to you. Watch. Now, the 12th harmonic is calculated by taking all our planets, the numerical value of the planet in the zodiac, multiply by 12, which is the spiritual number, put it back on the chart. 12 is the spiritual number because it aligns with the sign of Pisces. So I used to call it the spiritual chart. Now I call it the spiritual transcript. Let's take a look at it. In the spiritual transcript, which is this chart here, this is the chart, and I have found this through working with it to be the chart of her overall spiritual life. In general, it's been, has she continued to BS herself and think that she's separate from God, or is she getting with it and starting to realize that she never did leave God? Because when you look at the 12th harmonic, that's what it's all about. Because there's only one question. Are you going home or not? Are you going home or are you going to delay it? Are you going home or are you going to delay it? My opinion. Now, let's take a look at her history of her spiritual path. The sun has always been here on the first house. And that is indicative of somebody who could be very selfish, me, but I don't think that's her. It's also somebody that can be really creative. And with the sun in Gemini, she can be really creative in lots of different worlds, lots of different ways. Just gets bored easy, wants to try this, wants to try that. So I think it's rather pretty good. Uranus is sitting at the top in Pisces. The sun's on the angle, Uranus is on the angle. Uranus is all about, in Pisces, I'm going to love adult people. I'm going to love people all around me, and I'm going to do it in unusual ways. And I really don't care if you like it or not, because I love them, and the weirder they are, the better, because they're showing me their individuality. All right. Where is Uranus at? Opposite Eris, this brand new planet of ours. I'm not going to say much about that other than to say that this Eris placement is very pro-female, is very pro defending the underdog, etc. Very strong. The Mercury is in Aquarius up in the ninth house. It's very, very strong. And look at this very powerful triad. Pluto, Jupiter, Neptune. Jupiter, Neptune is somebody who's really dedicated to God energy, goddess energy. And Pluto's with it. So you step up the gas. So what could be the issue in this chart? She's very spiritually involved. She's very full of light and creativity. She's quite the radical. She's very forward thinking. What is this Saturn doing in Scorpio? Now we have found the story. Why do we find the story? Because where's Uranus now? Uranus is at 13 degrees Taurus. Uranus is right on that Venus, and that Venus has been living for lifetimes opposite Saturn. There's the story in the chart. So in the past lifetimes, what this means, Venus opposite Saturn, 12th house, 6th house, it means that you've been very nice, you've been very colorful, etc., etc., etc. But when it came to personal relationships, the Venus in the 12th and the Saturn over in the 6th has Venus opposite Saturn has a lot to do with repressing the self. Oh, honey, I really like you and I'll invite you into the foyer, but you're not getting in my kitchen. Come on in the foyer, I'll give you a glass of wine, some cheese and crackers, but you ain't getting in the kitchen. Does that sound like Saturn and Cancer? Yeah. I'm letting you in and I really like you, but you're not getting in too close. So we see the problem in the 12th harmonic is she's got the spiritual stuff straight, but she doesn't understand. She has not been able to until tonight. She has not been able to get her role in this straightened out. Do I love unconditionally? Do I hold back? What do I do it formally? Am I informal? What do I do? Venus is opposite Saturn. Saturn in Scorpio is very, very expecting. It has big demands. You better be ballsy. You better be full of courage. You better be full of pizzazz. And the Venus is opposite Saturn. Well, guess what? Uranus is sitting on the Venus now. Hello. So what we did find wasn't a 12th harmonic. So Uranus is sitting right here now, going back and forth the past couple of years, and is trying to work on that Venus. And that Venus is stuck in Taurus. Oh, honey, let's go out and do some gardening together. And let's just go down to the wildlife show I heard was happening this weekend at the county fair, etc. You know, it's very down to earth and not changeable, and it's opposite Saturn in Scorpio. So it's really not changeable. It has a real tendency to get really rigid. Where does the rigidity come from? It came from a very well-developed chart spiritually, but there's something that got through to you in your spiritual training, in your dogma, whatever got through to you, you translated it somehow that I'm not allowed to do that. I got to kind of behave myself. This does not mean it's true. It doesn't mean they were true. It means that's how you saw it. And that's how you treated yourself. You put too many constraints on your Venus. Venus is the part wants to go out at night, wants to go to the restaurant, get some nice wine. Hey, how are you? It's nice to see you. Getting a nice dinner, you know? It's very pleasant, Venus. Very pleasant. It rules Taurus. It's well placed in Taurus, but it's opposite Saturn. And the problem with Saturn is one thing. Moore just entered the waiting room, whoever Moore is. I hate to disillusion some of the astrologers, but I've really simplified Saturn. And they like to write big, thick books about it. And I've really simplified Saturn. I'll applaud you. Saturn's problem is trying to make sure of everything. How many people have been on a date and they're trying to make sure the date goes okay? How many people went on a job trying to make sure job interview went okay? They went to work and to make sure your work went okay. You can't just keep trying to make everything's okay all the time because it makes it too rigid. And there's no flow. And Venus needs flow. The zodiac needs flow. the zodiac beats flow. So Uranus is on your Venus now. And what do you think that's doing? That's got nothing to do with flow. That's got to do with breaking up the icebergs first. Then we'll look at flow later. That's exactly what's happening. We're going to break up the damn icebergs, the Venus opposite Saturn, from some old dogma that you were given. We're going to crack it first. That's what Uranus does. It cracks stuff. Then once it's in little manageable pieces, then we'll start to worry about the flow of stuff. Now, tell me this doesn't apply to you directly.
Yeah,
You've got it. It's just
it's a lot to take in. But yeah, I mean, phew, wow, it's really mind blowing.
Let me say something to you about that. The reason it's mind blowing is not because I'm so good. It's not because astrology is so good. It's because most people aren't used to thinking at that level of where it's happening. We're not aware of that terrain.
Yeah.
Hey, look under the seat. There's been a map under my seat the whole time. I didn't know that.
Right.
That's the reason. But I guarantee you, if you start looking at it in these terms, you're going to see that it's exactly that. So let's investigate your sense of past life, your sense of early memories, maybe even some of the stuff you were taught by mom and dad are playing roles. What is it that they taught you about how you are supposed to have relationships? It's not just boyfriend, girlfriend. This is all relationships.
Yeah. Honestly, so their whatever it is that they taught me, like their life and how they went about the relationships was completely a mess, all over the map.
Wow.
And really and I had a long time trying to get out of that. Even really up until very recently with the last relationship, because I was actually codependent, because at different points in my childhood, each of my parents were not involved. So it was like when I was very young, my mom left when I was like 5, and then my parents got divorced and she just left the house. One morning I woke up and my mom was just gone. And then a little later on, I was living with my dad, and then his girlfriend was doing drugs, and then I had to move with my mom, and then my dad was just gone. And their relationships with themselves and with their significant others were never healthy relationships. They were never anything that I could look at and say,
okay, well
really
then tell me,
you know?
what were their relationships like?
Their relationships were, well, with my mom and stepdad, they would just fight all the time. He was very controlling.
Okay, all right.
And then with my dad was actually an alcoholic and a gambler. So his addiction problems created the problems within his relationships.
Okay, what I'm getting at now, we're on a good track here. What I'm getting at is, what did you interpret? Remember, this Venus and Saturn are in the 12th house and the 6th house. That means that not only were you to have restrictions on your relationships, but that you were here to serve people. That's what the 12th and 6th house is about. You need to serve people, take care of others.
Right.
So how did, I'm not saying you're right or wrong, but how did what you saw with them form this Venus Saturn of yours?
I guess, I mean, for a long time, I didn't really know what constituted as a healthy relationship. And so I was actually very codependent. I would stay in relationships way longer than I should have, way past their time, because of my dedication of thinking that it would change or hoping that it would change. So I think, it's that Scorpio dedication, and just really, it was more believing in in how I felt rather than what they felt. And
Okay, and also remember that Venus in Taurus, Taurus is famous for one thing, never
Right.
knowing when to leave.
Right.
They just hang on too long.
Yeah.
Okay, now, got to remember a couple of things here. You're not a normal, typical Scorpio. You're a very intense double, almost a triple Scorpio. And when you add triple Scorpio to a Mercury next to Uranus, which is a 1 degree kind of a super inventive mind, you're not going to end up in a typical relationship. It just ain't going to happen. You're going to be bored to death. You need somebody who's really, really super creative and somebody who's super independent to allow you to do what you want without squeezing you too tight. But see, your tendencies are very strong with Sun, Venus, Mars ascendant. Your tendencies are very strong. Scorpio has to always watch out for that tendency. It's the urge, it's the healthy urge to merge, but you have to watch it or else it becomes strangulation. It just becomes usurping. You listen to Neil Young's lyrics. You know, he's talking about, I'm going to get you when the morning comes, when the morning comes. I'm going to win you when the morning comes. Well, that's all about conquest. So a lot of Scorpios start out with this deep conquest desire. And as they grow older, I noticed that they give more distance. They give themselves more distance. They give other people more distance. You find the same thing with Libras. Libra and Scorpio, they're smothersome in their early days of relationships. And then as time goes on, they get more space and it becomes a healthier thing. So I think that what's really happening tonight is, for the first time in a long while, let's say, you are being presented part of your life direction that you've been following for a long time, not right or wrong, about this rigid way you need to behave in relationships. And remember, you got Mercury next to Uranus. Your brain doesn't do things rigidly. Mercury and Uranus is really, really snap of the fingers, wahoo, lightning bolts. Let's just try this as spontaneity. You need somebody very special. You need somebody very special. And you will have that person right at your doorstep as soon as you get done with your stuff. That's when the person comes. As soon as you dump your stuff, that's when they come. It's unbelievable. Okay, so let's go back. Let's work this backward. So let's go to the birth chart and let's ask ourselves the critical question from the birth chart. We're going to go back into the 12th. We want to know what's going on with this thing here. Why is this Saturn standing there like a drill sergeant? Okay, why? Why is the moon over there by itself? Why is it almost opposite Pluto? What's all this 12th house dedication to God stuff about? So we go to back to the past life chart. This is it. We see you're super dedicated to God, goddess energy, whatever you want to call it, the universe, very creative. And I really like what you did with the sun here, because a lot of people don't have this. You said, no matter what I get into, I'm going to keep myself alive. A lot of people don't have that ability. A lot of people don't. They give up the self. They sacrifice the self. They become martyrs. This is a strong message that, I'm going to stay alive. I am Jennifer. I'm going to stay alive. Lively. Okay, this is a tremendous fear that somebody's going to come and snatch you and tie you down. There's really not much going on in this chart. You got a nice moon trine. The issue in this chart is the Saturn to the Venus. And on the night we're talking about it, Uranus is sitting right there. Uranus is 1304, and this is 1326. That's how close it is. All right, let's take a break from that for a moment. Let's flip over to the sixth harmonic. Here's the sixth. The sixth is your destiny. It's what you're good at. It's your hero's journey. Look at that sun. In all the charts, the sun's staying on the ascendant because of the nature of harmonics. Look at Jupiter, opposite Pluto and Neptune. This is a really dedicated Jupiter. This woman doesn't mess around when she does stuff. She puts her whole heart into it. And what does this T-square do? It dumps out at Chiron in Leo. Chiron in Leo, 10th house. Come on, I'll show you my artwork. You go in her house and great big leaves painted in reds and greens. Big and buoyant stuff. That's not typical Scorpio. Typical Scorpio is more mysterious, darker colors and maroons. But that Chiron and Leo, you are very, very expressive. So what we see in your chart for phase one here is we got a person who's very spiritual, who's very expressive, but she ain't allowed to do it interpersonally. What the hell does that mean?
I don't know. It sucks.
No, tell me now, are we on the right track?
Yeah, and it
Okay.
really stinks.
You don't
Yeah.
you don't have to think it sucks because we have a solution for you here on Astrology Unplugged. $55 if you drop it in the mail tonight. No, really, seriously. The solution is there because Uranus is there. It's time to solve it because the planet's there. This is why you're not on in February. It's why you're on now. What matters now is you need to start rethinking through how you have bought certain philosophies about rigid relationships. Who gave them to you? Was it through watching mom and dad? Was it through past lives? What was it? You watched somebody and you came up with the incorrect philosophy that if you sit on yourself and you get real careful and you're just too uptight in your relationships, it's going to work. The way a Scorpio does it is this. They get involved, the heart opens, the heart blasts open, it's a torrid affair, and if it blows up, it blows up. Because Scorpio is the sign that can bounce back. The sign. You can bounce back. But the Saturn in Cancer is lying to you. Oh, you're going down the drain forever. You can't bounce back. Oh, no. You can't listen to that. See, you're much stronger than your Saturn in Cancer. You've got tremendous power with all that all that Scorpio stuff rising. You're here to live passionately. If we go back to your sixth harmonic, we see you're supposed to live big with Chiron and Leo at the top. You are here to live big. And you've got Saturn and Capricorn at the bottom. So that means that whatever kind of thing you get involved in, your business savvy is going to solve it. Don't worry about it. You've got the savvy. You'll figure it out. People are going to hire you because of your pizzazz. Period. Nothing else to say. You're going to win because you got so much pizzazz. Your chart's pizzazz. It just is. Now, I'm trying to imagine now, like when I wrote the Scorpio chapter in that book, it took me like 1 or 2 days and I was shocked because I thought it would take 3 months. And I found out that all the fixed signs, I did them all 1 day, 2 days, because the fixed signs are really easy to write about. The cardinal signs are the hard ones to write about. What I would do if this was my chart, I would continue to work on self compassion. Number one. Number two, I would grant myself permission to be as different as I want to be compared to most people, because you're just really different. Doesn't mean you're weird. You're just really different. Number three, I would start getting bottles of champagne and congratulating myself on having so much pizzazz. Because you just got it. You just got super pizzazz. So the answer to all this, in my opinion, is you don't solve a super pizzazz woman with being heavily duty cautious. So how do you deal with a person that's got tremendous caution in their chart? I mean, I see it all the time. The way you deal with it is slowly, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. You see, Scorpios don't like those kind of answers. Scorpio wants to rip the cover off of everything. It's just black or white. And you just can't do that. You just can't do it. It's too dramatic. It's too dangerous. Scorpios end up in really dangerous emotional situations all the time. That's just how Pluto is. And as you grow older, you probably get a little tired of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I'm driving by your table or I'm walking by your table and I sense this super pizzazz woman there and I sense these storms flying out of her head, I'm gonna keep walking. It's just too much.
Yeah.
That's all. So another thing I think is important in your chart is I think that you need to, if you even do, stop thinking so much about relationships. Because that Saturn in Cancer of yours is not just about relationships. It's about a way of being. Right. When you're a super pizzazz person, the universe is going to bring you Mr. Pizzazzola. It's just going to. It's just going to. It has no choice. Now, this codependency that you speak of, which we're going to get into in December, I think it also is, how do I say it? I think the last relationship that you were in, I think you knew it was codependent and you kept doing it because it's safe. And I think it was safe, but now the time is over.
Right.
I think it's that simple. The time is over. You don't need to be careful anymore. Now, and I did a lot of talking as usual. Tell me what your thoughts are.
Yeah, definitely the time is over for sure. And I think that I'm at a point now where I'm actually thinking less about relationship than I ever have in my whole life. And the reason is because there's a repetitive pattern that I've seen. And it really is because, the whole Scorpio side, it's like it just, it really just wants that whole passion and connection and depth. And that happens in the beginning of a relationship because everyone's trying to impress, blah, blah, blah. And then once that wanes away, I'm like, hey, what's going on here? Like my lights come on and I'm like, hey, wait a minute. Like, that's not what you do. Like that you don't just fizzle out and like, that's it, Right. So somehow, things, it's weird because it's like, I feel actually more cautious than I ever have because I really say to myself, it's like relationship is more sacred than I think I used to give it credit for.
That's the
right?
word for Scorpio.
Yeah.
Sacred.
Yeah. So, I've had this time to really reflect on it and to really just sit with myself for a while. And that's really helped me a lot because I've been able to take myself out of that whole mindset, just being alone and actually really reflecting on that. And so And so I've gotten to a point where I'm like, I don't need to rush into anything at all anymore. I have my moments just like everybody else where, you have a bad day and you're like, wow, it would be really great to have that person in my life. And, like there's always that longing that's there, but it's less up front and center in my face like it used to be when I was younger. And really, I just want to focus on, my creativity and not being stuck in a 40-hour-a-week job now that I've been let go of my other job, and finding other ways to have more time to do what I want to do and support myself in that sense, and just basically try to work on manifesting the life that I really want to have and really feel like I deserve to have, because I feel like I wasted a lot of time too on
You
on
didn't wait.
stuff
You
that
didn't
just,
waste. You were learning.
yeah, definitely learning.
You were
But
learning. We all
yeah,
feel. We all feel that we wasted. It's not
yeah,
true. It's not true. It's not true.
yeah,
You just had to learn, and it's hard to learn when everybody around you has a lot of false ideas.
right,
And a lot of Americans have really false Aussie and Harriet type ideas.
right,
We're going to stay married for 65 years. We're never going to leave the supper table. We'll always be happy. Everybody's healthy. And then the kids are always happy.
right,
Well, your chart is just so creative. When you get into the dumps, you need to pour your energy into your creativity because it's so strong
yeah. And you know
that
what?
what's
I
going to
did,
happen to
yeah,
you, it's going to cause, I hate this damn word, it's going to force the universe to start making better deliverables to you.
right.
That's what happens.
I truly believe that
That
more
is
than
believe.
ever. I
It
really
is.
do. I believe that more than ever.
It
And I
is.
actually I write a lot too. I think it's that Mercury and Uranus. So
Oh yeah.
when
Yeah.
I get those really super Scorpio emotional moments, I've been able to just translate that out into poetry and just write it out, like these intense emotions. And it's been really helpful. And I've actually been writing since I was like, I'm going to say like late teens, early 20s is when I started writing. And then it would go away for a while. It depends on life. Like if I'm in a good space and everything's running smoothly, it's like those deep, passionate feelings that cause me to write aren't there. So I've actually had many years where I haven't written at all. And then since the boyfriend left and I lost my job and all these things happened this year, I've written more this year than I've written in the last 10 years. So it's really been an amazing way to express that. And that's really the best way for me, because it just comes, it just happens. I don't have to sit there and think about it. I don't have to criticize every word. It just flows right through.
That's the way. That's the way creativity is. Yeah. Another thing for people to keep in mind here, when you see this plethora of Scorpio planets, that will get you in trouble at times. It just will. The way you always solve a conglomerate of a bunch of planets lumped together, the way you solve that is go to opposite the zodiac. And when you have too much Scorpio, which that represents, the way you solve it is to go over to the Taurus part of you. Because that's why I put so much focus in the book on the polarities. I have, we have, I am, we are. That's intentionally focused on in the book, because in Scorpio, it's all about, look what we did, look what we have, look what we've built, look what we have. Well, that's cool until there's a day when you don't have it anymore. Then you're left holding the bag because you haven't put enough attention into what I have. So that's why the I have is the Taurus part. The bottom of the zodiac is the I part. The top part is the we part. So when you get in trouble with, when you get over dedicated, etc., take a walk, do something for yourself. Focus on appreciation of yourself. Make sense?
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
All right, let's take a look at some other goody goodies. Erica, we're stirring it up tonight, aren't we? Okay, let's take a look here. Here comes a birthday. All right, let's do a solar return for New Jersey.
Yes.
Just pick a city in New Jersey.
Okay. I mean, the
Um,
closest city is Atlantic City if you wanted to go there.
All right,
Sure.
there's your return chart. The nearest one, Atlantic City. New Jersey. So this is your birthday chart. All right. These things are surprisingly accurate. Very accurate. Okay. This tells me that your coming birthday until next late October, this is what you're going to be doing. The Mercury is really strong. So Mercury at 18, right on the descendant, tells me you're going to really be opening dialogue between you and other people. It also tells me with the Sun and Mars there that not only are you getting a refreshing, renewed outlook on relationships, but the seventh house is also your public persona. So we see you out there meeting people, chatting with people, just becoming much more public without all the strings attached. And then what's right here? Eris is rising. This new planet Eris is kicking ass everywhere. And she is the planet that the real radicals are jumping on board with her. Not to be radical, just because they're tired of things being done wrong. That's all it is. It's not radical crazy. Is Eris, you see it everywhere now. We're tired of not doing it the right way. Yeah, we shouldn't have taken that property from those black people. Yeah, we shouldn't have taken that land from those Indian people. Let's fix it. This is where all this is coming from. It's where it's coming from Eris. So we see it's very strong in your chart for next year. So in your relationship chart, you're going to really want people who are positive thinking, who are not politically correct on purpose, but are at least thinking about what they should do. They're not falling into the old habits. They're thinking about, hey, there's a new way to do this. Why don't we think about that? So I like that. So they see that that's very strong in this chart. Now, we see Pluto is at the midheaven, 24. Put my glasses on, it gets a lot easier. 24, 24, 24. Okay, so everything's pointing towards Pluto at the top of the chart, and that means Capricorn too. That means you're going to be making some very serious attempts toward what you want to go to do with your career. Now, let me tell you a couple of things about that, because Pluto and Eris have never been together before. Never. That's why it's so outrageous now. It's why codependency is so great. One of the things that's going to happen to you, you mark my word, you're going to get offers from powerful people. You're going to get offers from powerful companies, abilities and offers to merge your company with somebody else. Doesn't mean you have to do it. But you're going to because they like your pizzazz. Pizzazz is you bottle up pizzazz and you sell it.
Okay.
That's what you got. You got the rare kind of pizzazz that few can bottle it. And of course, you want to watch out so somebody doesn't try to steal it, of course. But that's why you got Saturn and Cancer. Hey, you volunteered to be on the show. What can I say?
It's so funny.
No, with Pluto up there at the top, it's really a symbol that you really may have opportunities to fuse with somebody very big and powerful if you want, some big and powerful corporation if you want. You don't have to. It can also be symbolic that you want to take a job where you're going to transform people, where you have a big impact on people. That's very Plutonian. You know, I want to mean something. That's Pluto. Okay? With your work. Now, I don't know how you mean something with your jewelry, but that's your job to figure out. And
That's all right. There's a little more to it than that, but that's okay.
that's what I thought. And there's a lot more to it than just jewelry.
Right. Yes.
A lot more to it.
Yes.
Okay. Now let's go back to the chart of some more because it's really very strong chart. So you got the strong Pluto there. You got Uranus opposite the sun, T-squared to Saturn in Aquarius, Jupiter in Aquarius. This means that you're going to really be drawn to joining groups, environmental groups, people looking out ahead of their time, futuristic type groups. And they're going to also want you to lead. They're going to want you to be an officer. They're going to invite you into the group. So this is a very good chart. Very strong. Look at this grand cross. 6, 7, 13, 5. So the real point is the 5. So it's the 6 and the 7 and the 5. So the sun is really big here. The sun in Scorpio in the 7th house. What does that mean? The sun in Scorpio in the 7th house. It means that, first of all, a lot of men, if you're interested in men or women, that's up to you. A lot of men are going to come by you and they're going to sense this lady means business. So if I don't mean business, how about I keep walking?
Exactly.
That's exactly right. Because you've got a very open, childlike smile. But you're not childlike.
Right.
There's a very deep depth to you. But people are going to start understanding this. And they're going to sense, oh, that codependency door's shut.
Right.
And it'll be shut to them. That's how it works. I'm going to take a minute here because we got plenty of time to just mention to people. I know Claudia and I have been working on it. Other people too. This is the time of codependency. Everywhere you're seeing it. Everywhere. Isn't that how you put it, Claudia?
I don't know if I said it quite so eloquently. But it's kaput. It's done.
When you do your own show for 4 years, you can make any damn word up you want.
And unplugged.
And unplugged. We're unplugged. That's right.
Yeah.
But we're going to take a time out here and talk about this. Will be repeated in December. Look around you, friends, brothers, sisters, kids. Look at what's happening with the support systems being broken. Look how many people have been forced by COVID to stay inside. And they don't have the regular support system. You see, Pluto, here's how Pluto works. Pluto's not mean. It's not trying to screw with your life. It's not trying to mess you up. Pluto is a part of you that is your soul. It is your depth and it's your passion. And it knows when it's being expressed and when courage is being owned or not. And if it's not, Pluto tries to remind you. Hey, you got power down here. Hey, just ask me. Just summon me. You got it. You got it. You got it. Don't listen. Don't listen. Don't listen. You got it. Don't listen. So Pluto says, well, you're not going to listen to me. Well, let's just break off some of your support systems. Whatever we got to do till you start to listen to the fact that you are powerful.
Yep.
That's what Pluto does. And a lot of people just work and write about the fear of Pluto. Ooh, that's not how it works. It's not out there. It's you got to answer to this guy in here. Same with Neptune, same with Uranus, etc. So I don't think you have any issues with that because you got so much Scorpio in you. I think you have an easy way of grabbing onto your power and your courage. The thing in your chart, the overall scheme in your chart is we want to start dialing down that Saturn in Cancer. We just want to start dialing it down. You're never going to shut it off. No way. You're just going to start dialing it down and conferring with it less. Because Saturn in Cancer is an expert. Oh, something to watch out. Oh, he's going to steal your watch what? Oh, it's going to be bad. That's what Saturn in Cancer energy does. It just produces fear. It's all about the ego. I'm going to be abandoned. I'm going to be thrown overboard. No, you're not. You're not. No, you're not. So I'm telling you something, Jennifer, here, after a couple of things we've talked about here. I'll bet you that in the last couple of months, you knew something was going to happen. I bet you
Yeah.
sensed this was coming.
Yeah, definitely. It's been such a dramatic shift in the structures of my life that I felt were stable. So when all of these structures fall away, I mean, this happened to me one other time in my life. I'm going to say maybe a couple of times in my life where it's like, you think that everything that you have is like, is what's going to stay. And then
Right.
all of a sudden it just all just completely falls apart and breaks away. And the thing about this time that is completely different than any other time that this has happened in my life, and not these exact things, but this similar structure breaking down things, is simply the way that I've been able to handle it mentally. It's like how to describe this is I think that the level of trust and patience that I've had with myself and just the situation at like as a whole has really gotten a lot better. My how one would respond, how I used to respond versus how I've responded in this situation. It's like all the same things happened. I'm not saying they didn't happen. Yeah, of course
But
I've
you're
had
different.
times.
But you're different.
Yeah, right, but I'm different. So sure, I've had there was just the whole shock phase. You go through different phases. The whole crying phase, the desperation phase, the what's going to happen tomorrow phase.
Right.
I did all that. And I allowed myself to just sort of like be the witnesser of it, like say, okay, this is what I'm feeling now. It's okay. That's not how it's going to be forever. And I went through it, and I went through all of it. I mean, basically by myself, so, I didn't do the codependency things that I used to do anymore. And I just said, all right, I'm riding the wave, and I rode the wave. And so now I'm like, okay, so what's going to happen next? And in a way, it's like, I've just become more trusting in the process. So
Well, I think it's just fantastic. You got a fantastic story. You just got a fantastic, you really do. Let me show you something here, which is related to this. Back in your birth chart. Okay. The thing that's going on with everybody is Pluto is sitting about 26 of Capricorn. Okay. And Eris is sitting about 24 of Aries. Well, notice one thing. Pluto's sitting at 24 now. Look how close it is to squaring Mercury. Okay? How close it is to squaring the Mercury-Uranus conjunction. Well, my dear, your Mercury in Libra is not going to be shocked when it's starting to get painted Scorpio colors because right next door to it's all these Scorpio energies. It's not shocked by it. A typical Libra is shocked. And that's why today has been so hellish on so many people, because Mars has been at the 29th degree of Libra today.
Uh-huh.
The last degree of Libra is a bitch because it's the biggest contrast in the zodiac going from Libra to Scorpio. But what's happening now is Pluto has just finished years worth of hitting your Saturn.
Mhm.
What happens when it hits Saturn? That's when all the stability in your life becomes unstable. That's all the things you leaned on that you thought were leanable, but they're not leanable. And this was mainly 3 years ago. Okay.
That's when it began.
Okay. And then Pluto's hitting the moon at the same time. So that moon Saturn got hit. That was tough.
It was tough.
Moon Saturn is tough. But see, now you're picking up the Pluto is hitting, it's feeding that Mercury. And when Pluto feeds that Mercury becomes more like a Mercury in Scorpio. So what is the difference between a Mercury in Libra and a Mercury in Scorpio? Well, Mercury in Libra is very fair, it's very just, it's very court-like, it's very judge-like, it's very balanced, it's just really reticent to take a decision. It's going to take its time. Not Mercury in Scorpio. I love it, I hate it. I love it, I hate it. It's just real intense. I know how I feel. I have to mess around with this. I love it or I hate it. So with Mercury and Scorpio, your mind is going to get more severe. It's going to get deeper, just like we had one last week. You're going to become more detective. You're going to be looking behind the scenes, what makes things go, especially psychologically, what makes these things tick. So the main thing that we're seeing in your chart today, once again, where did the Venus Saturn come from in the past life? What was it in the past life? When the rest of the chart is really pretty decent, what was it in all these past lives that you come up with Venus opposite Saturn and Scorpio? Don't behave like that. You're getting too wild. You better calm down. What does that mean? Where'd that come from? It doesn't mean it came from anybody. It doesn't mean somebody fed it to you. They could have it, but it means that's what you believed. And that's why you took the life that you did. And I'm really understanding this now. If your past life chart isn't a little messed up, you're not going to take a lifetime.
Right.
And if your past life chart is all beautiful and roses, which I've seen, then you're probably taking a lifetime just to help people. And that's a fantastic thing. But I think you're really on your way. I think you're really in good shape. What do you think? What do you think the solar return chart means with that Pluto up in the 10th house and you trying to make your business bigger, stronger? I mean, some people like a small business. Some people want to develop branches. What is on your mind?
I would have to say, with Pluto there, probably transformation. Somehow it needs to, or it's going to take shape, and just completely transform itself, into what I'm hoping that it will be, which will be something that can be sustaining me financially.
Oh, there's no doubt there.
Yeah, while allowing the creativity, because I've really just, the frustrating part, I think, about working for other people is that, what I've come across a lot is like just the ethics of the workplace really just have not aligned with me, on many fronts, whether it's like the boss just doing things that aren't ethical, which is why I got fired this past time. He let COVID people work while having COVID. And so I reported him to the state and then I got fired.
Good for
So
you.
that's how and that's how I lost my job. But anyway, it's like, and then like, office people talking about each other all the
Time
time.
out.
It's
What
like,
happened? What happened to him?
So no, so what happened was is actually the state did come in and they mandated that he had to follow a whole bunch of rules that would allow then for the safety of my coworkers better. So me reporting and getting fired actually hopefully saved some of the coworkers and allowed them to work in a better
I
environment.
want to say something to you before I forget. Don't be dismayed. Don't be turned off if your desires start to go towards, I want to affect art schools. I want to go to art schools and put jewelry making into their curriculum, for example.
Right.
But with all that 10th house activity you have, the 10th house is affecting the norm, affecting the normal schools. So getting your program inserted into the curriculum, etc., is not a far cry. So I think it's going to be much bigger than you think. I think it's going to really go well. And this is what happens. This is what happens when you let go of the relationship that's not good for you.
Right.
This is what happens.
Yeah.
For example, I'm not going to browbeat this guy because I don't know the guy. But right after the breakup, and I know there were tears.
Yeah.
Right after the breakup, what is it that rocketed up?
So actually my self-esteem.
Beside that, I mean,
Yeah.
actual things, jobs, houses, cars. What went up?
Yeah, everything went up.
That's it.
Everything.
That's
It was very crazy. Very crazy times. Just wild ride, just experiencing the whole thing,
Well,
just
that's
really
because of the Uranus on the Venus. And when
Mhm.
Uranus is there, it will be wild. It will continue another year or so. Then it'll calm down because that Venus doesn't like it. Venus wants things to calm down. But I am going to end the show early tonight and thanking all of the dear YouTubers who stick with us every week. I'm going to mention a couple of things. Number one, you've been an excellent reading. Just what I mean by that is I know by looking at the chart what the person should be going through, more or less. And you're just right on track. And I'm sorry for your losses and your heartache, that's tough, but you got through it. And I'm also want you to know I exaggerate certain things on purpose because I want people to know how big it is because they can't tell in their own life. They can't tell. You're just thinking thoughts. But you got the pizzazz in your chart. It's really special. It's really charismatic. And don't look at it like it's small. It's really big. Now, what we're going to do here, I'm not going to mention all the names, but you remember our friend, I can't say his name, Joao? Our friend Joao has been working on Thursday nights, and he's going to take off next Thursday, and he will be my guinea pig next week. And I'll be trying to say his name next week, Joao. So thanks, everybody, for hanging in with me tonight. Special triple thanks to Jennifer. And
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome, and congratulations to you that, Joseph, that things are going so well. I'm going to go rest, and I will see all of you next Thursday. And I hate to say it, but we're getting near all these holidays and stuff. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Rick.
Better.
Thank you so much.
Take care, everybody.
Happy birthday,
Thank you.
Jennifer.
Thank
You're
you.
being reborn.
Thank you.
Great show, Rick. Great
Bye-bye.
reading, as
Bye-bye.
always.
Returns.
See y'all.